Hi, my name is Minsuk, and I am excited to talk about the prompt artists. In this work, we have investigated the art practices, artwork, and the motivations of prolific users of text-to-image generation models, and documented artistic styles and the developed community of practice around generative AI. This project was in collaboration with Stefania Druga, Alex Fiannaca, Pedro Vergani, Chinmay Kulkarni, Carrie, and Michael Terry. With the remarkable advances and increased availability of text-to-image models, the age-old question of what is art is receiving a renewed attention. For example, Mazzoni et al. Consider visual outputs created by an algorithm as art, offering their inclusion in exhibits in art galleries and design galleries. And they observe that artists' role have expanded to pre-curation, tweaking, and post-curation. On the other hand, Hertzman argues that computers do not make art, people do. However, as these and other scholars note, what qualifies as art depends not only on the explicit properties of the art medium or its aesthetics, but on how it is uniquely used and practiced by artists. For example, Kelsey argues that photography is an art of chance. Unlike a traditionally deliberate art form like painting, taking a good photograph relies not only on mastering the technique, but also on being fortunate to have clicked the button at the exact right moment. To understand photography as an art form, we study photographers who embrace the role of chance in creating photographs. Similarly, we argue that in order to understand the potential of AI-assisted art, it is necessary to study artists who truly embrace the unique aspects of AI-assisted creations and their techniques and their motivations. So we have invited 11 artists who have generated tens of thousands of images using text-to-image models, including Google's own Imagine and Party. Majority of them were and still are also using external models like Midjourney and are very active in the broader AI art community. To understand their practices, their artifacts, and their motivations for engaging extensively with the models, we interviewed and observed these artistically driven users. And here's an overview of what we have found. First, we find that the prompt itself is often considered as a part of the artistic output in addition to the actual image, with artists pursuing a goal of creating parsimonious, descriptive input prompts. Second, we discover that artists also produce prompt templates to encapsulate a unique visual concept that others can customize, almost like an interactive art installation. Third, we describe the concerns in validating their outputs as original and how they use external tools like image search to validate the originality of their work. Lastly, we describe how these artists seek unique natural language in an attempt to elevate their pieces beyond the norm. Also, we show how some artists look for glitches that can be reliably transformed into a new style. Let's walk through each of the findings in detail. First theme in our study findings is about expanding what art means. Our first finding is that one can consider the prompt as art itself. A well-crafted prompt creates a compelling image, but also accompanies that image saying something about the image. In pursuing prompt as art, we observe participants impose different constraints when creating their prompts, with some wanting it as descriptive as possible, while others attempting to make it as simple as possible. One participant even discovered delight in their accidental discovery that their random string produced beautiful outputs. When asked about the meaning of the prompt, Ian Fisher, an artist who participated in our study, had explicitly said, "It's part of the aesthetic," where the prompt is like a title of the piece, but you don't get to choose it independently. And its significance lies in that it's communicating the image and the idea of the image and how I got there all at the same time. And on the right is an art piece by Ian Fisher titled "A Photo of an Owl Turning into Croissant F2.2." Continuing on expanding what art means, the second finding of our study is the prompt templates. Artists were actively using prompt templates. Prompt templates follow a form that other artists can then adopt. Here's an example of a prompt template created by Irina Bloch, Audacious and whimsical fantasy house shaped like object with windows and doors, location. These prompt templates are carefully crafted to reliably produce pleasing results for others. And there are these interactions between the prompt template and the user's choices. For example, to keep everything the same but vary the city name in the place of the location placeholder, and it impacts the architecture of the strawberry house. But these objects and locations can go even further and still reliably generate beautiful images. And by plugging in your own choices in the object and location placeholders in the template, you can generate these images on the right. Second theme of our finding is about artists developing unique styles and taste. On unique styles and originality, Shai Noi, a participant of our study, had said, "Art doesn't live in a vacuum. Nobody starts from scratch. Everything is based on something else. But I'm proud of being able to recognize potential." What we observed is that artists sought new words to steer the model in new directions. For example, one artist mentioned referencing architectural blocks to learn the domain-specific vocabulary so it could be applied to their prompts. Another artist mentioned turning to a thesaurus to enrich their vocabulary for the prompt. So these images here are a curation of art pieces made by the artist Shai Noi. These are dresses and clothes made with unusual and unthinkable fabric and material. As one concrete example, in creating these images, Shai likes to employ unusual words to steer the model, such as intricate instead of detailed, explaining, if you choose common words, then you get a bit of an uninspiring results quite often. But if you use something a bit more unusual, then you really narrow down the set of images, and you're going to get into things that use this less common word. So in the pursuit of novel imagery, artists would carefully research and choose words to produce specific visual outcomes. The third theme of our study is in artists' motivations and goals. Artists wanted to find the language for unique and visual outputs, testing the boundaries of the artistic medium. Much like photographers found ways to leverage the properties of their medium, for instance, the prompt artists seek out and elevate glitches in the model's outputs to create new styles. Paul Emerick, another artist to participate in our study, takes advantages of the model's imperfect reflections, like the image on the left, and its consistent misplacement of components, like the image on the right, and has developed their own style. Another artistic goal we found in our study is finding meaning. Artist Dan Smith had juxtaposed animals in unfamiliar habitats, like the images on the right that he created, gorillas in Arctics, polar bears in deserts, to make people think about climate change. In his own words, it's not just having fun, but making something that has some power. To summarize, with this research, we found that prompt artists are expanding what art means by considering prompts themselves as art and crafting prompt templates as art. They do so by developing visual concepts and unique styles with the constraint they put on themselves, like validating originality. Their goals were to discover unique languages for unique visual outputs, to push the art medium's boundaries to discover glitches, and also to generate powerful images that embed artist messages. To go back to the question we began with, what is art? I'd like to highlight this quote from Irina Bloch. We didn't ask her this question, but she brought it up while walking us through her artistic explorations. Art is not only about how something looks, it's about what it says. It tells a story and has a concept. Art can surprise, provoke, teach, delight, and inspire. Art is not just about drawing. Art is a way of thinking. One last message. I would like us as a community to think about, if text-to-image models are a new art medium, what tools can we build to make prompting more expressive and accessible? With that, I'd like to conclude and we'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you.